Good evening. I'm District Secretary Nancy Campbell Hatfield. It is Tuesday, May 19th, 2015, and this is a regular meeting of the Dublin San Juan Services District Board of Directors. Presiding this evening is President Ed Duarte.
Thank you, Nancy. Call the meeting to order. Would you please stand with me with the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Nancy.
Director Von here, Leopold. Here. Director Benson. Here. Director Halkett.
Here.
Vice President Howard.
Here.
President Duarte.
Here. Item number 4 on the agenda is a very special item, and that's the announcement of the presentation of awards to the Tri-Valley Science and Engineering Fair winners.
I think Sue is going to kind of lead us through this, so take it away.
Yes, it's my pleasure to introduce to you our winners. We have a project from Alameda County and a project from Contra Costa County. We do this in 2 counties. We're one of 2 agencies that are in both counties. Otherwise, there's 10 in one county and 11 in the other county. So this is a regional Excellence in Water Research Award that we're giving tonight. So our first recipient is in the junior division from the Alameda County Science and Engineering Fair. His name is Neil Chatterjee. He won the runner-up award in Excellence in Water Research. He's an 8th grader at Quarry Lane Middle School in Dublin. His project explored how organic detergents materially decrease the cost of wastewater treatment. Yahoo! He's going to receive $300, and his teacher, Johan Rippel, was the sponsor, and the teacher will receive a $100 award. So come on up, Neil, and tell us a little bit about your project. I'll open it up for you.
Hi, thank you for coming here. Okay, so my project basically involves testing whether organic and non-organic detergents could basically affect wastewater treatment and protect the environment. So we used the special serums created from olive oil, thin blades of grass, and ketchup mixed together and poured into one batch of organic detergent and one batch of non-organic detergent. Then we measured the phosphate, conductivity, turbidity, chlorine, and pH of each for each organic and non-organic. But those are a trial of 10 times. The results showed for everywhere except chlorine of the same, that organic detergent had a better result overall. So if every household in the city like San Francisco, which has approximately 4,000 were using organic detergent, we could save $12.8 million per year. Thank you.
So we'll mail it to the teacher. Okay.
Do you want to take pictures?
We'll take pictures after we do the other. Let me do the other one, and then we'll stay seated.
Very good.
Changing the rules on me.
I know. Let's keep you on your toes. So, in the junior division in Contra Costa County Science and Engineering Fair, we have Rashia Mehta and Rosita Waragard, and they are first place winners for the Excellence in Water Research Award. They are 7th graders at Gale Ranch Middle School in San Ramon, and their project explored a low-cost portable water filter. Their teacher is here this evening, Barbara Weisbrod, and she sponsored their project. Come on up, girls, and tell us about your project. And the teacher, too. Come up with them, please. Right here. And I'll open this up so you can look at it. And we have more props, huh? Okay. Okay. Sort of speak into the microphone. so I can hear you.
So, our project is off of budget and it is a portable water filter. And so, okay. In our project, we created a low-cost portable water filter kit that we can distribute to people living in rural areas so that they can have access to clean water to drink. So in our kit, we have two pre-made, pre-run water filters. So it has activated carbon at the bottom, it's 50% of the water bottle, and then we have sand which we wash, and then we have rocks at the top. We collected the sand from a local park and rocks from our backyard. And we bought an activated carbon at a local market, so it's a really low cost material, and it's a plastic water bottle. So how you would use the kit is you would first take the water filter and put it on top of the cup labeled cup number 1, and you would run your dirty water through the filter. And what happens with cup number 1, once the water is fully drained, about a cup of water will take 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. You pour the water from cup number 1 into cup number 2, and then you use the water from cup number 2 to refilter the same water, and you do this about 3 times for 1 cup. And this ensures the clean and purity of the water. So when we experimented, we tested, after we got the water results, we tested pH, iron, copper, and nitrate. And we also tested pesticides, and it was all positive. We had used a testing kit, and we compared the results of the drinking water that we have in our home to the drinking water that came out of our filter, and the results were exactly the same. And
Very good. So now we're going to have pictures. So now all the kids have to come up here, and the teacher. And the board. Sorry. Right. I know, right.
yeah.
So come up here, I'll hold you. Well, actually, so, yeah, we'll get the board. Okay, we'll put you on this end and put the girls on this end. Okay, and sort of sideways, yeah. And you can look at Georgine. And then that's good. That's good. We'll do a big group and then we'll break it, and then we'll do small groups. So scrunch in a little closer. Yeah, scrunch in like you love it. Okay. Okay. 5 in a row, so stay still in one spot, please. So girls, come aside for a minute, and we'll do Neil first, and then we'll do the girls. Yeah.
There you go. Mine are alphabetically according to height.
So, very Okay, now we'll do the girls. We'll put you in the middle, girls. Right here, all right.
Nobody's here.
Nobody, yeah. And I forgot to mention that the girls are splitting a $500 prize, so they each get $250 and the teacher gets $100.
Congratulations. Good job. Thank you.
We think so. Not sure.
That's it?
It's okay.
We're done, thank you.
Did I get a picture?
And it's okay.
Yeah, they moved this out of the way, so.
Well, just let me say on behalf of the board that we are very pleased and proud of all of our kids, and especially for those of you that see fit to study the science, math, engineering subjects, and the quality of your projects is certainly reflective of your attitude towards this type of a curriculum. We're very, very pleased and very proud of you and happy to have you here, so congratulations again. At this time, we're going to go into closed session to discuss some legal matters, so parents and teachers and students are excused. Thank you for coming. So we're going to go into closed session at this time. We'll be back shortly.
When they come out, call for number 3.
Push the button. Okay. We'll resume the meeting and let the report from our closed session. So going on to public comment. So at this time, anyone in the audience is encouraged to address the board on any item of interest that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, but not already included on tonight's agenda. We have a speaker card from Mr. Patrick Clancy.
Hello. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Patrick Clancy, and I'm here tonight to show you a better way to hand water, to keep water contained around plants and trees rather than just dumping it on the ground. Here's how it works.
Cool. Complete show and tell. Good.
Absolutely. And this is the product I'll demonstrate to you. It's made of simple plastic. All you do is you dig 3 inches down into the dirt around the plant and tree, a simple trench. You wrap this around the plant or tree. It simply snaps together, place it in the prepared trench, backfill around it to secure it, and fill it up with water. So what this does is it keeps it contained. There's no more runoff or anything like that. So you will use a lot less water. And I will show you what it looks like. About 2.5 gallons. And this is exactly what it will look like in your yard. The water will percolate down to the roots, feeding the plant, keeping it hydrated, and that's what this product is about. I call it well worth it. So I'm here tonight. My goal tonight is to be part of your arsenal to combat this drought. I'd like to get the word out that there really is a way to get an abundance of water to plants and trees, and at the same time reducing the amount of water that you use. And that's my presentation.
Where's it available?
It's available on my website, and you all have literature that I handed out with pictures. It's wellworthit.co.
Sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Have you taken it on Shark Tank?
I have met with Kevin Harrington. I met him at the How to Do It Expo in San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
He liked the idea. He took all my pictures, took all my wells. They come in 3 different sizes, an 8-foot, a 6-foot, and a 4-foot. This one is a 6-foot. Sounds crazy that this would be 6 feet. It just wraps it point blank to a circle or a well. The 8 foot is for trees, a bit bigger the circle. All 3 can be linked together to form any size you need, which is nice. So yes, I did meet Kevin, and then my website wasn't up and running yet or anything, so I decided I would wait, get it up and running. I did. Then I met his son, Brian. Brian liked the idea, and I was kind of shooting for the stars because they do infomercials. And he says, Patrick, he says, at this point in time, it's a great idea. We think it will fly, but you're asking us to take all the risks and put up all the money. He says, we'd like you to prove yourself to us.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so that's where I am now. So now I'm going to the water districts and showing my idea and trying to get the word out.
And the cities too? Are you doing parks and recs with cities?
You're my first one.
Well, we're actually water agency, but cities.
Yeah, I've heard that's another way to go, yeah. So I'm just kind of starting out right now. It's been around for a while. I've sold hundreds of them. I went to the Master Gardeners, Master Gardeners spring market out in Santa Clara the other day, and sold 27 in 2 hours. And then they invited me to Microsoft Green Day, and I went out there and demonstrated to the Microsoft employees. So yeah, I'm getting the word around. That's why I'm here tonight.
And try Water Smart. Try Water Smart also. There's a conference in Vegas in October.
I did try that. Yeah. I'm interested in profit sharing of any sort. Something like that. Just to get the thing out there.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I'll just leave it out.
No, okay, item 6, reports.
Yes, President Duarte, members of the board, a one thing on the event calendar and a few pieces of correspondence to report. Alameda County Special Districts Association held a meeting on May 13th, probably, I think it was, say, recommend people, we have over reporting that you weren't there. But in any event, what I wanted to do was report that the Special Districts Association approved a new set of bylaws. I understand that the writing those bylaws, per our board policy, we would have normally circulated those to board members to gather the comments. It was largely a very good work product, but we ran short of time and didn't get circulated. So I voted affirmatively to look at those bylaws. They went through, they were mostly clarifying and non-substantive in nature, but there were 2 things that I think you should be aware of. Number one, the SDA, Alameda County, is going to require all its members, including DSRSD, to formally name a delegate or representative to SDA to vote on matters that may come up. So we'll have to sort that out and get board action on that. That's one thing. The other thing, for those of you who are students of rules of order, there was an interesting discussion about the use of Rosenberg's rules of order. And Leescan brought up the fact that Rosenberg's rules of order, while they require a action to be initiated by a motion, and they encourage a second, Rosenberg doesn't say that a second is needed. The board president, or that who's ever chairing the meeting, can actually call for the question without a second. And made that as an amended motion. That's how it was passed at the meeting. That was all interestingly enough. But I know our board bylaws call for the use of Rosenberg's rules of order. So one of the things Nancy and I are going to do, she doesn't know this, we're going to look at that item. If you think that you want a motion to be able to go ahead without a second, we don't need to do anything, just nod your head right now. If you'd like to have that clarified, we'll make it so if that's in fact what the is said. You need a motion? You need a second. You need a second. Okay, so we'll proceed.
And actually, there's one other thing that are in the bylaws, and that is one more person was added to the executive board. So whereas I'm one at large, there'll be a second at large, so that at least there's 5 of us at an executive board meeting, not just 3.
So anyways, a good meeting overall. I apologize for not getting it to you ahead of time. It sort of crept up, but it was also very late. So this reported, I took action myself. It seemed pretty straightforward. But there's a couple of follow-up items. Under correspondence to and from the board, I have 3 things to report to you. The first is an email from a Ms. Vicki Davis, received by the board, received by the district on May 7th, addressed to President Duarte as well as all the members of the board regarding mailings from DSRSD regarding potential water and sewer line breaks and insurance. We've responded to that email. John Archer, you have a copy of John's response. And basically, this is sort of a standard response when somebody complains, and this is one of the benefits of, I think, us managing the database rather than home serve, is we just remove the person's name from the database if they ask us, so we'll never give them another solicitation. I note that the email was copied, that she copied the email to both Mayor Clarkson and Councilman Hudson up at San Ramon. John's letter doesn't indicate that, but we will get John's response before both of those individuals. Second piece of correspondence, email again from Mr. Norbert Lewandowski, came in yesterday, May 18th, to our entire board, subject to future water cutback policy. You have a copy in front of you. He talks about the different ways to deal with cutbacks, whether it's 25% off across the board, regardless of how much water you serve, when he proposes another formula. This is really in reference to item 9E, so when we get to 9E on the board, we'll also reference this at that time. But I think the proposal we have, which is sort of a water budget approach, you can only use so many gallons per week, regardless of what you used in 2013, I think essentially addresses his comment, not in the way he says, but he was concerned about the inequity of 25% cutback for people that were able to do the job, and I think our system addresses that. So we'll again cover this night. Third piece of correspondence we have today, it was from Ramona Krasnick to the entire DSRSD board, just subject to a DSRSD board, basically proposing a DSRSD enhance the current rebate program for installing artificial turf. That's item 9H on the agenda, and of course that's exactly what you're proposing that we do. So I don't know if Ramona is saying she supports what you're doing, or if she didn't know what you're doing and she's suggesting it, but in any event, we're doing exactly what she has suggested. So those are 3 pieces of correspondence to and from the board. I would note under agenda management, just for the record, that we took, I thought we were going to take all 3 of them out of order. We actually only did 11A, so I think we'll go back into 11B and C. Correct. And then under the committee reports, you can certainly report on it now, but rather than just a simple report, I would note that we actually have an agenda item related to this. So directors Benson and Halkett can report on it. The whole board can chat about what was the revenue stream. So we have that as the last one on the agenda tonight. And that's not all I have. Very good.
Item 7, approval of the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of May 5.
I have a correction.
Correction.
On page 11, just before item 11, closed session, the paragraph that starts out with my name, the welcome baskets were for Camp Parks residents, not residents in general.
I move the item with the proposed alteration.
I'll second.
Seconded to approve the minutes with the amendment as stated by Director Von Peter Leopold. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Going to the consent calendar, we have items 8A, B, and C.
Move for approval of items 8B and C. 8A, B, and C.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar, items 8A, B, and C, as noted. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to regular board business, item 9A, review and discuss the drought management program.
Yes, President Duarte and members of the board, technically item 9A is your opportunity. This is your standing item to hear from the community and providing direction to staff about what you don't like in the drought management program. It's on there for that purpose, but I'm going to hijack it just a little bit and talk about what we're going to be doing in the rest of the agenda. We have a series of actions related to the drought that extend from 9A, this item, all the way through item 9J. This is basically the same series of items you went through in May of 2014 and in December of 2014 when we extended your drought emergency going forward. We're just kind of going to walk through each one of those. I think it's a logical way to do it. I think you've seen all of these before. We've talked about what I think is the substantive items at the last board meeting, which is the rate stage, the prohibitions and the enforcement provisions, and the enhanced rebate program that we just heard about. So might be a good opportunity if the board wanted to pause Director Duarte and talk about the program in general, if you wanted to, or we can just immediately move into the items and start going through it.
Let's just start the process.
Okay. Okay, the first item, the second item, actually, the first item in the series is item 9B. This is our water supply and demand report and drought response action program. This is completed through April 30th. It's a standing item. Essentially, there's no surprises here. Perhaps the only new piece of information since May 5th and since the completion date of this report is that on May 5th, at the same time your board was meeting, the State Water Resources Control Board was considering their regulations to implement the governor's executive order. They in fact passed that evening. There were no surprises in there. There were a couple of little tweaky things that we modified the ordinance to address. They tweaked a little bit of language here and there. Absolutely nothing of substance. Because there are the documents we presented to you on the 5th of May were essentially everything was as adopted by the state board. So I guess what I'd like to have you do is provide direction to the now, on this one, we need a motion to accept that report and find there's still a need for a community drought emergency. The next item you're going to do is then extend that community drought emergency through February 29, 2016.
Questions? I'll take the motion.
Also move.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve item 9B. To accept.
I have one question for Chair. So the zones action of actually removing their program, how does that affect us in the back? It seemed kind of peculiar given all that's going on. So
I don't think it affects us at all because we're bound by the State Water Resources Control Board order, which specifies a 16% conservation program for us. Going through the map, that translates, as you'll hear later, to we think about 33% outdoor curtailment and 5% indoor. Collectively, that will result in about 16 as best you can do this math. The zones action is really related to improving our allocation and the ability of the district to obtain transfer water, either under provisions of contract paragraph, I forget the number, A, where we can do it if they can't provide the water, or B, where we choose to do the transfer if they can, and then there's a financial obligation. I think that's the substance of the zones action.
So the state mandate accrues to us and bypasses the zone?
The state mandate accrues specifically to retailers, it does not apply to wholesalers.
It's been moved and seconded to accept that report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 9C.
I see, President Duarte and members of the board, this is an action that you've seen now for the third time. We're pushing the state of the community drought emergency out through February 29, 2016, which generally corresponds with the governor's executive order. He mentioned February 28th. I guess nobody told him it was a week here in 2016. We just went out through February 29th just for convenience sake. The one thing I would mention that I think is important is that the 16% conservation goal overall is 2015 as compared to 2013 is a system-wide target. It's not, you know as well as I do, we do not manage that customer by customer. We manage that as a system. And what we're going to try to achieve that by is with a 33% outdoor curtailment and a 5% indoor curtailment. The significance of the 16% number is it sets the stage for an item a little bit further down on the agenda, which is your drought rate stage. Our recommendation is, as we go from 25% where we are to 16%, that we can back off our water rate stage from stage 3 to stage 2. So that's one perhaps significant element in here besides extending the duration of the state of emergency.
Questions, comments? We declare approval of our resolution.
I'll move to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded to approve by resolution the continued state community drought emergency through February 29, 2016, and to rescind resolution 78-14. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Item 9D.
President Gorka, this one before staff acts, you have a few procedural things to go through. I think you have some notes in front of you.
Right.
Highlighted 9B, if you could follow that.
Right.
We'll keep on this.
For item 9D, to hold a public hearing and adopt the urgency ordinance for water use limitations and repeal the ordinance. So, and the title of the ordinance is as follows: an urgency ordinance of Dublin San Ramon Services District adopting water use limitations during the community drought emergency and repeal of ordinance number 333. Take a motion to waive the second reading. A motion to waive the reading of the ordinance.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded to waive the reading of the ordinance number 333. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. At this time, we'll open the public hearing and receive the staff presentation.
Thank you, President Markey, members of the board. In the interest of time, we've got some slides tonight just to highlight the changes to the water use restrictions compared to last year. So I think we can get through these fairly quickly. Again, as Bert mentioned, our overall goal will be 16% this year, which we're going to try to achieve with a 33% outdoor reduction and a 5% indoor reduction. The changes to the ordinance include irrigation will be limited to 2 days per week per meter, and that will be a year-round limitation. That's a change from last year's schedule where we only allowed 1 day per week in the months of October, November, April, and May, and no irrigation during the winter months of December through March. So this is consistent with the State Water Board order that recently came out. Drip irrigation is going to now include bubblers and micro sprayers. Those are some very common types of irrigation that are low water user types. We're going to include those just for clarification for our customers. Drip irrigation will also be limited to 2 days per week. Last year there was no limitation on the frequency of drip irrigation, so this will again keep us in conformance with the State Water Board's requirements. Likewise, hand watering last year with a bucket or a can was allowed multiple days per week. It will also be limited to 2 days per week. Not that that's a big item. But finally, residential users, we've simplified the limit to just specify 4,480 gallons per week. And last year there was a little bit of confusion on the part of some of our customers because the ordinance mentioned 640 gallons per day, but it was the weekly limitation that we were enforcing. Hotels must post notices now in all guest rooms indicating for their customers that laundering their towels and their bed sheets are optional, so customers can choose not to have their towels washed if they wish. Commercial customers will be limited to 95% of their 2013 usage for their indoor water usage. And irrigation customers will be limited to 67% of their 2013 usage for the same period of time. Another change is home vehicle washing will be allowed this year as long as the customer uses an automatic shutoff nozzle on the end of the hose. And commercial vehicle washing will also be allowed with shut-off nozzle. That will address one of the complications that we had with the business in Dublin. And I think finally, ornamental turf on public street medians cannot be irrigated with potable water. That's a clarification of the ordinance also. And pressure washing of fences has been added. Last year we allowed pressure washing of homes if that was needed for painting or repair, so we've added fences to that. We've had numerous requests from customers who needed to paint or repair a fence and they wished to pressure wash it. And then finally, irrigation of landscaping on new construction must comply with California Building Standards Commission and the Department of Housing and Community Development. This is coming from the state, and those guidelines are currently being developed.
Actually, they were issued today.
Today.
Draft.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out what they said.
Okay.
We'll be in compliance with these.
Okay, so those highlight the changes to the water use restrictions ordinance.
Questions?
So most are driven by state board requirements, a little bit of clarification, and we're able to loosen up and allow 9% more water than last year.
Yes.
Who enforces the hotels posting these notices? We do that. Anybody?
You're going to go to all the hotels and check.
We have discussed internally, from the staff level, we're going to do some outreach with the hotels. We're not going to go and look at every single room in the hotel, obviously.
Yeah.
We'll make an effort to work with them to make sure that they're doing this. You know, and I think as any of us that have stayed in a hotel room lately, almost every hotel's already doing this, so I don't think this is going to be a big change for them.
And we only have 1, 3, or 4 in town. Sue has already offered a visit, at least explaining everything.
And again, any effectiveness on that particular item is up to that hotel customer that, you know, there's some people that, I want my towels washed every night.
That's certainly their option.
Yeah.
The other thing to consider with the hotels is very often they have a laundry service, and you know, if they send them out, the laundry is not even on the district, but some commercial facility outside of town. So, you know, it's saving water for the state of California. So this is one of those soft things, I think. It's more an outreach, raise level of awareness items rather than enforcement.
The thing is better than nothing as far as. Any other questions from the board? Okay, at this time, we'll open this item for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to have a question about this presentation? See none?
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Then move to second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. He's sitting back.
I was looking at the screen. I voted aye.
So at this time, I will close the public hearing.
There's no discussion. I'll move to adopt the urgency ordinance for water use limitations and repeal ordinance number 332.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, this is along to 9E.
Okay. President, Marching members of the board, this is a similar action to what we did last time. What we're proposing to do is repeal ordinances 334 and 335, which are the two enforcement ordinances, and replace them with a new ordinance. There are very few changes to the ordinance, the enforcement ordinance, compared to last year. Really, the only changes concentrate on the enforcement against commercial and irrigation customers. Residential customers, first violation is $250, the second violation is $500, and the third violation is $1,000. To that, for commercial and irrigation customers, we've added either $250 or 10% of their 2013 billing for the same period for for the first violation. Likewise, for second violation, it's $500 or 20% of their 2013 billing for the same period. And the third violation will be $1,000 or 40% of their 2013 billing for the same period.
There's a couple of procedural steps we should
Yes,
take.
I should have read that. Agenda item 9E is to hold a public hearing to adopt the urgency ordinance for penalties and provisions for the enforcement of water use limitations and repeal ordinance number 334 and 335. That ordinance reads as follows: an urgency ordinance of Dublin San Ramon Services District adopting penalties and provisions for the enforcement of water use limitations during the community drought emergency and repeal of ordinance number 334 and 335. So I will solicit, take a motion to waive the reading of the ordinance. So moved.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to waive the readings of ordinance numbers 334 and 335. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This time I will open the public hearing and receive staff presentation.
Beyond what we already did.
Any comments from the public? Seeing none,
I'll second.
we move to second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 9F.
We need to
adopt it.
Close the public
Yeah.
hearing.
So I'll make a motion that we adopt the urgency ordinance as presented.
I'll second.
Move to second to adopt it as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then one.
repeal.
Hmm?
And
That's right.
repeal.
I don't need to be full time, it's fine.
How do we restate that?
Not really, but I'll make a motion that we move the item as presented.
It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Where are we now? Water rates. Water rates. That is for
President Duarte, this next item, F, is to adopt revised water rates. We are currently in stage 3 of our water rates. This would be to rescind Resolution 2714, which is the stage 3 rates. As Bert and Dan mentioned, adopt stage 2 rates, which are more in line with the 16% reduction in consumption that we are targeting. Tables included in the handout show you what the rates are going from and to, but it is a reduction. The rates will still send a message to customers to curtail their usage, and will also, it provides some funding for additional outreach activities that we will have during the year. The amount of outreach activity is less than it was in stage 3. It's $145,000 over the period of time that we will have the in effect. So again, this is a reduction in the rates. Ask for your consideration and approval of the resolution. If there's any questions.
So it's revenue, so long as we make the targets,
It's still, yes.
It's revenue neutral.
Yeah, the rate still will cover the reduction in consumption.
This is good news. We're able to come out of stage 3 and stage 2, and that's.
That's really good.
I said, I think this is good news. We're able to come down a stage that's rewards the community for what they've done. I move the item.
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the Stage 2 water supply shortage rates and rescind resolution number 27-14. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Very excited, aye.
Motion carries.
I appreciate it.
President Duarte, board members, the next item is to adopt the wise water use credit in fiscal year ending 2016. By the changes we've made tonight, the old Wise Water and User Credit for 2015 will have expired, so this will in effect replace it. At the last meeting we had, you set the credit to be $2 per month for it, so this will set the new Wise Water User Program in place through the duration of the drought program through February of 2016. Any questions?
This is the item that allows the very low users not to be penalized by the drought rates.
Correct.
Yeah, this is great.
I will move the item.
I will second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt the Wise Water User Credit for fiscal year ending 2000.
Last one, not it. The last one.
I recommended the name, so it's its own twist.
It was moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item?
President Duarte, members of the board, the next item is a recommendation to adopt a revised rebate program. And there are a few changes that are proposed for this year's rebate program. Really, the only changes have to do with the lawn replacement. Last time we met, the board asked to increase the allocation that we go for lawn replacement. So we've doubled the per square foot allowance and the maximum, so that single-family homes now will be eligible to receive up to 50 cents a square foot and up to $500 for lawn removal. Multifamily and businesses will get 50 cents a square foot up to $3,000 for a maximum. And there's a minimum of, that's the same as last year, the minimum of 250 square feet will have to be removed in order to be eligible for this particular rebate.
And this is on top of the Zone 7.
This is on top of the existing Zone 7,
Which is 50?
which is, I believe it's 25 cents a square foot.
And then isn't there one last component if anybody has a project that will listen to? You know, like bigger than the multifamily business?
That's correct.
If somebody has a
It has a
proposal.
special case project where they can test them.
An apartment complex wants to take out, 25,000 square feet.
So, but it also, one does not, this does not relate to artificial turf, or does it?
Our ordinance doesn't specify that. I know that Zone 7 does not allow artificial turf. We have in the past.
On case by case, or
Yeah, we have not
How
had
many
a lot of
artificial-
these, but
how many artificial turfs have we rebated?
gosh, I don't
Off the
know
top
off
of
the
your
top
head.
of my head. I don't know. I don't think there's been very many.
So is there a single application process, or does the customer apply to both here and
Apply to
rebate?
Functionally, I'm not sure how that works, whether if they apply at Zone 7, they pass it to us automatically. I'm not sure how that works.
Most of the other rebates we accept the information and we actually bill it, so.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions?
I move
Second.
to revise enhanced rebate program for water efficient devices and appliances and lawn replacements and rescind resolution number 29-14.
Moved and seconded to, as stated.
There you go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Threw me off when you read it. Item 9L.
Thank you. President Duarte, members of the board, this is a recommendation.
I'm sorry. Item 9I.
9I, right. This is a recommendation to adopt a drought action plan. Essentially, this year's action plan is staying the course from last year with a few additions and changes, and I can describe those for you. Expanded recycled water use will be a prominent item in this year's plan. Of course, the Alameda County facilities were very recently converted over to recycled water. That's Santa Rita Jail, the sheriff's facility, the animal shelter, CHP, I believe, was also converted over. The West Dublin recycled water pipeline will be under construction soon, and as that pipeline goes in, there are a number of facilities along the way that will be getting converted over to recycled water, including schools and parks and what have you. The commercial fill station has been very busy and will continue to do so, and we will expand that as necessary to meet growing needs for the contractors and what have you that come and use that. And our residential fill station continues to be quite amazing. The growth has been a challenge for us to keep up with, but we have expanded it up to 18 spigots, and we're in the process of adding 10 more, so we'll be at 28 spigots at the treatment plant. And we're also now moving forward with the planning and construction of a second fill station across the street at the Dublin Public Safety Complex. So that fill station will offer another 8 or 10, however many we can fit into that site. So again, we have over 1,000 customers as we speak that are coming to get recycled water, and it continues to grow. And we've had, gosh, I don't know how many different agencies come in and tour our facility to learn about and to potentially start up their own fill stations. Just this past week, we also had a group from the Department of Drinking Water. This is the regional manager and 3 of his inspectors that came to look at our facility. They're the ones that originally permitted us to open up the fill station. They've had so many requests from other regulators around the state that they wanted to come and learn a little bit more about what we've done so that they can pass that along to the other regulators that they work with. So anyway, it continues to be a very popular thing, and we're going to try to meet the needs of the community as best we can.
Didn't realize you created such a monster.
Our little experiment that went completely crazy is it's a study in human behavior.
I have also a question regarding the usage of the fill station. Can we do another commercial? Any way we can do another commercial fill station over in this area?
A commercial fill station?
Or is that?
Well, a commercial fill, we may expand the commercial fill station at the wastewater treatment plant, and I think that's a more appropriate place. The commercial trucks, when they fill up, it's not uncommon for them to spill quite a bit.
Right.
You know, and if they do that on a public street, that could be a problem. You know, at the treatment plant, it's completely contained. Spillage is not an issue for us, so we're able to accommodate those big commercial users, I think, a lot better at our site.
Because I know we're pushing more to it. We're spreading the word everywhere to have people come down and get water.
Commercial being primarily contractors, water trucks.
Contractors.
Yeah, these are water trucks, water buffaloes, 2,000 gallon up to 4,000 gallon trucks.
For
We
dust
also get a
control.
lot of street sweepers that are using the commercial fill station.
For dust control projects.
Right, dust
Especially-
control, grading and compaction for construction, what have you, so.
Okay. Well, I just know if there's projects, I know there's Contra Costa started theirs up too, right? Or Central.
Central Sand, yes.
So it'd just be nice to have a little bit more in the San Ramon area, because I know there's a lot of activity up there as well.
Any other questions?
Is there any,
Got more to go?
I was just going to point out there are a few other things in the drought action plan that are identified. We're going to continue to encourage Zone 7 to try to secure water transfers. We are planning to upgrade 2 of our East Bay Mud inner ties so that they're ready for longer-term, non-emergency use. In other words, if we were to use those inner ties to accept transfer water, we want to upgrade them so they're ready for that kind of duty. And we're going to continue to evaluate and pursue water transfers for future supplemental supplies in the event this drought continues beyond 2015. Now I'm done.
Sorry. Good job.
forge ahead, I'll move this item, endorse the fiscal year and 2016 drought response action plan.
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded to approve this plan as stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 9J. John?
Mr. Duarte, this item is to amend a budget that you haven't approved yet. It's a little different, but in response to the stage 2 drought rate that you just approved, this would be approval of the additional funding to be spent for the drought outreach programs. We're doing it this way, which is a little unusual, just so that I have traceability of the budget adjustments going through. So this is going to authorize, you can see the attachment, the spending is for items like the recycled water fill stations, some public outreach, and things that we are using on an ongoing basis for our customers. So there'll be a budget approval that'll be impacted after we approve the budget at the next board meeting.
Very straightforward.
I move to amend FY 2016 operating budget related to district drought response. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the motion as stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. That is back to Bert.
Mr. President, Marty, members of the board, I think we're done with the drought items, although you might consider this one sort of a little bit of a drought-related item because it's certainly related to recycled water. Specifically, it's the approval of what we call the 6th supplemental agreement to the agreement of wastewater disposal services and treatment services with the city of Pleasanton. We have a long-standing agreement that was originally signed in the late 70s, early 80s. It was completely redone in the late 90s as part of the settlement of differences related to the Romney project. That agreement that was approved in the late 90s had various provisions that were related to how the parties were going to interact related to the district's Clean Water Revival project. That was our indirect, what was now called indirect potable reuse project that we built and permitted and were getting ready to operate at that particular time. What this, and that base agreement has been amended a number of times, most recently about 12 to 16 months ago when we entered into the 5th supplemental agreement with Pleasanton, under which we made available capacity of recycled water treatment facilities for Pleasanton's recycled water project. That agreement is going forward. Matter of fact, I believe we're providing water to I want to say Emily Glenn. I'm drawing a blank on the name of the department. Bell Vista, thank you. We're providing water to Bell Vista, and we have been for a number of months already. The next big step will be Pleasanton will be awarding a contract to extend recycled water lines throughout the city. That will trigger a notice to us. We'll start building the 6th filter after treatment plant and eventually start planning for the expansion of the recycled water plant. So our partnership is really going well. This agreement cleans up everything related to the Clean Water Revival project back in the late 1990s. It just expunges the whole concept from that particular agreement. And really the basis for the agreement is the realization that recycled water, and given the size of the enterprise that DSRSD currently operates and that Pleasanton will operate, actually provides disposal capacity in the wintertime. There's always recycled water going on. Virtually every day of the year, and certainly every week of the year, so that project is providing disposal capacity. That Clean Water Revival was in part intended to provide. That becomes a policy basis for allocating some regional expansion money towards recycled water. I could go through a very complicated spreadsheet with you to come up with how that numbers would arrive, but let's just say they were mutually negotiated with us as Pleasanton. And it wasn't really a negotiated number. It was really just the spreadsheet pushing the numbers around. It was a very collegial, congenial discussion about that. So the bottom line is with the approval of this, you will also be, what the agreement calls for is for us to transfer, it's about $2 million. I don't see the number right at the top of it. No, it's 2.3. It's 2.3 million from the regional expansion to water expansion fund. And then of that amount, 1.18 will be remitted from water expansion to the city of Pleasanton that they'll use for their recycled water program, leaving 1.18 in that fund for use by our water expansion program for recycled
We basically feel that of the $20 million or so that was spent for clean water revival, basically the disposal capacity represented by recycled water as we currently envision is about 10% of what clean water revival is providing. And so that's how you get from $20 million to this $2 million number. I think this is an absolute landmark, this agreement and our relationships with the city. I'm real pleased to be able to present it with you. You know, for those of us, a couple of us that lived through those times, it was not fun. I think both cities fairly advocated for it. We got to a point where we were able to sit down and reach an agreement and move forward with a number of things, but this is really moving us into a new era of cooperation between the organizations. So I'm really pleased to be able to recommend that you consider this agreement. It's on the pleasant agenda tonight as a consent. But I wanted to put it on board business because I think this.
This
makes it go away forever, right? Makes it go away forever.
And
You're okay with it? You're on liaison committee.
Whatever
that you're okay with it. If you're okay with it, I'll move the motion.
I'm okay with it.
You want to
It's
move it?
just, it's like a piece of the family. Somebody died. It's, I'm okay with it because what's happened as a result of what we did then, far too long ago, but we now have a very good working relationship with the city of Pleasanton, which is as it should have been all along. So I'm very grateful for that.
You want to move it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll move it.
And I will second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the sixth supplemental agreement to the agreement for wastewater disposal services between the district and city of Pleasanton related to the disposition of outstanding clean water revival issues and funding for recycled water facilities. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
That's what I
And I would note that we have a Pleasanton representative in the audience. Leonard said he didn't need to speak, he's just here observing, and I understand you guys have it on the agenda, so thank you for coming by.
And thank you. I'm a relative newcomer to the area. I've been here 2.5 months. I've got Mr. McIntyre beat, though. You've been here, what, a month and a half? Oh, he's got me beat, I'm sorry. Anyway, I've got to say that in the short time I've been here, the technical prowess, the congeniality, just the good nature, the camaraderie I've found among staff and management here has been world class. And I've literally worked around the Pacific Rim area. And I just got to say, these are exciting days. And the city is excited to move forward with lots of new plans and projects. So, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. 9L. Stand back.
It's Jimmy Zaville is going to give a short presentation on the award of the SCADA project. The SCADA project is a major project. It is the second largest project that will be awarded this year.
Well, I'm going to start with acronyms. I'm going to start by saying SCADA stands for Supervisory Control of Data Acquisition. SCADA is a part of our water and recycled water system. It is what helps us monitor our reservoir levels, see how much water is pumping through our system, helps us maintain our pressures, helps us ensure that our pumps are operating properly, checks fluoride levels. We completed a master plan in 2010 that recommended that we upgrade some of the obsolete equipment we have and fix what I'll call the cheap communication system. The design was delayed because of the economy until 2013 and staff limitations. So this project has been anticipated and a long time coming. And I'd just like to note that Maurice, that's in Vito, and Jerry Miller from the electrical maintenance staff are here, and Darren Winton from operations is here, and staff has waited a long time for this project, even through this meeting. So this project accomplishes a lot, and some of the aspects of the project are shown on the slide.
replaces 41 programmable logic controllers, we call them PLCs, at the district pump stations, reservoirs, and our sewage lift station. So the PLCs are connected up to the instrumentation, so reservoir levels, pressures on the pumps, and we even look at amperage on the motor so we can see if something's going on. So the PLCs are also then controlling, and we look at levels in the reservoir and turn on pumps, determine how many pumps to turn on. So it keeps the water flowing and keeps everybody, keeps the storage levels there for operations and fire fighting capability. So those PLCs communicate then to other PLCs into the central SCADA system. So that's this crazy diagram you have there. No, that's actually different radio lines. And with this project, we're going to be building a new microwave radio background, and we're going to be changing out our old 900 megahertz unlicensed serial radios. We're going to get Ethernet licensed radios so people can't interfere with us. So then the communication, all that goes back to, like you can see the radios and the antennas there, goes back to a central server and a historian. So that server, you can see the operator down there, you can look at what's going on in all the different sites. You can control a number of aspects from that site. And it also stores all the data in historians, so we can go back and do some analysis. We can see how we operate, and if we can improve some things, we look at we can determine the demands in the zone. We look at water age issues by looking at that facility. So some other things that this project accomplishes, we're going to replace with historians and we're going to update the screens. But we're also going to develop standards. So the system was kind of put in very quickly as we were growing and developing quickly. And so there's a lot of inconsistency in how different things were programmed and how they were labeled in the system. So then we're going to have a set of design standards when we're done with this project. This project is also going to make security improvements that were recommended in a security plan a number of years ago. Because while we were going through and giving electrical drawings and site drawings for every single plan, it made sense to also wire some of the reservoir hatches, so all the things that needed to be alarmed in that security plan are going to be done along with this project. And they'll be installing district security card readers at all the sites. So there are several items before the board this evening related to this project. The first one is the construction contract. Staff recommends that the board award the construction contract to Glenmont Global. We opened bids on April 21st. We had 3 bids. The lowest bidder was Glenmont Global with $3,727,000. This is 7% less than the engineer's estimate of $4,200,000. Staff reviewed the bid and determined that it was both responsive and responsible. And we followed up with references to the police report of Glenmont Global, California. And I'd like to note that C.D. Blackburn, Glenmont Global, California, is here tonight. Staff is also requesting a project budget increase. The estimate in the CIPs for the last 2 CIP rounds was based on a master plan construction cost only, sort of as a placeholder, because we weren't really working on the project that number was moving forward. Staff wanted to wait until we increase the budget to see what the cost really would be. And at this point, we have our construction costs and we have our construction management costs. And I'd like to note that the majority of this budget increase was already included in that draft CMP that we brought to the board meeting, and so it's included in the cash flow. And finally, staff is also requesting approval of a contract with Parkside Engineering for engineering services and for construction management. It's a $910,000 contract, which includes a 10% contingency. Parkside completed the design for this project, and we would like them to continue on doing the engineering services and design and doing the construction management. They have worked closely with us over the last 15 months on this design, and we work closely with our IT staff, our operations staff, and our electrical maintenance staff.
Construction management is pretty involved because there's extensive coordination on testing, off-site and on-site. There's significant scheduling because when we put in this new communication system, we're going to be keeping the old one and slowly transferring the on-site over at a time, so we'll be having two different systems going on at the same time. There's also a lot of workshops on the programming and the status meetings you see down below. So they'll be working with staff to sort of the minor details, the major design here on the minor details of the design. And there's considerable documentation in Parks. And I'd like to note that Doug Haney, the park sign, is here also. So is there any questions?
That's good one. Yeah, we would have had this earlier had it not been for that great discussion.
Yeah, we get slow stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll work with it.
These are big numbers, but this is super important. I know we've locked the budget pretty thoroughly, so cash flow can support it, so I can support it. So I'll read the item as presented.
I'll second.
Well, we have to do 4 separate resolutions, correct, Carl?
Yes, but you could
Could we combine
bundle
them?
adopt them by one motion, or you could proceed individually, whatever the board's preference is.
I would prefer to do it as one motion.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm a new remedy.
You want to state that? then?
No, I did. Award the agreement and take the associated actions for the construction of water and recycled water skid improvements project, CIP 09, oh, that is an old project, 09-6101.
Second?
Oh, I second.
It'll be a civil second.
Yeah. Now we have-
And second, as stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Well, it's a good system.
Yes. Congratulations.
All right. Okay.
The candidate statement cost policy. So this is being presented to the board tonight. Typically, the board reviews their policies every 4 years. This policy tends to come back more frequently, well ahead of each election, so the board can consider what, if any, changes they would like for this policy. Currently, when a candidate wants to seek a seat on the board of directors, they would choose to have a candidate statement or not. If they did, they could have it in one county or the other, Alameda or Contra Costa, or both. And so currently, your policy is such that you would pay your candidate seeking a candidate statement, you would pay a fixed deposit amount of $450. And then after the election, it would be determined, the true amount, whether it was more or less. If it was more, the district would pay the remainder of that. If it was less, the candidate who would put down a deposit would receive a refund. So that's how your policy is stated now, and this is for your discussion to consider whether or not you want any changes to this policy or leave it as it is, status quo.
And in particular, the amount. Typically, we present data to you that from the previous election showing what the actual costs were. Well, there was no election last time, folks over here. So basically, the only information we have is 4 years old. That resulted in the decision to set this at $450 as a deposit amount. You can either say that still sounds good, in which case that'd be the end of it, and we'll calendar again for consideration a couple of years from now, or you could say, discuss it and give us direction to put in a different number, in which case we bring it back for formal action. This is not queued up for actual action for the board tonight.
Sounds good to me.
I don't see any reason to change.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to change it.
Yeah, the only thing I would entertain, first of all, I think this is good public policy. Some agencies, I think, make it difficult for people to run for office, and even though the community then is supporting some candidates here with a kicker, I think it's good policies. People should be encouraged to run. In that spirit, the one idea I had was kind of out here, I'm not sure it's legal, is it possible to have a deposit that is different for an incumbent versus the challenger? And I float that out there as, you know, there is a power of incumbency in these local elections. And personally, I think it's important to have elections, to have challenges. So just an idea of maybe bifurcating it, having a different level of support. Because this is support from the ratepayers of the district to candidates. They have a different level of support for incumbents versus challengers.
But a less favorable
For the incumbent.
Yeah. The incumbent pays a bigger deposit.
Yeah.
I don't know what that number is, the concept was of interest to me.
Interesting.
Is that legal?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I hadn't contemplated that. I mean, clearly, with the reverse were true, and you were talking about
Making
more favorable deposit arrangements for incumbents, that clearly would not be.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily automatically mean that the reverse would be true, but I really haven't.
I'll tell you what, let's look into that, and
it's just an idea. I'm not
I'm
going to die on
research
this
that
one.
and come back to it at a later time.
And certainly I'm not going to die on this one. It's just, it was an idea that I kicked around my head. It'd be worth leaving open to us.
And even like this, if we figure out that there is possible to do something legally like that, we'll bring it back to the board
We'll need to
for
chat about it
discussion
more.
and talk about it. If we find out it's not legal, we'll just communicate that to you and then leave it at that.
Otherwise, the policy's fine. The only other thing I would float out there is, you know, as we grow, we need to keep an eye on the size of the subsidy, especially in Alameda County. You know, $1,200, we may need to, even if we keep it level, we may need to adjust to 450. Maybe touch that one. Just not propose that.
Yeah, we're making it very difficult for lower income people to even run.
Well, I mean, any viable candidate has to be able to raise a little bit of money too.
If you believe they should, there's an argument out there that they shouldn't raise money.
I understand the public financing arguments for elections well. There's some fine balance between making it.
I personally like the old policy, which 100% paid for the election statement, because then you truly did allow anyone from any economic background to run. This is a considerable amount of money. Just a comment, I know we haven't done that since whenever, the mid-2000s, but
Yeah, I would certainly want to means test that. I'm afraid I haven't done that.
you would want to what?
Means test some total waiver. I think, doesn't that also even, isn't there some means testing for?
There is a means test for indigent candidates. That's federal law.
I wouldn't label them indigent. I mean, some people.
I think that's a term of art.
No, I mean, I know that is the term of art.
That's how come, I can't think of his name right now, Sean Costello always runs for city council.
We've seen how that outcome, that may not be the outcome we decided. Anyway, I think we have a little bit of homework and we maybe talk about this again.
So just to summarize direction, if we find that it's possible to have a disparate amount that would favor outside candidates, we'll come back and discuss that further. If we find that that's not legal, keep it at status quo 450. I pose that again because Regina, I heard you voice a little bit different opinion and I get a sense from the board.
I don't think I'd have a consensus for it, but I just wanted my opinion on the record. I really thought that the way the district treated it was fair to everybody. I know we cut it out when the first strings got tightened, but maybe it was even earlier than that.
But you are agreeing that you just leave it as is, if there's.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I'm sure I did not vote to make that changes. All right.
Fair enough, Nancy? Okay. By direction, so the last item is N, discuss the Tri Valley water policy roundtable.
Good evening. So we've been proceeding with the Water Policy Roundtable meetings. The fourth Water Policy Roundtable meeting is held here at DSRSD last week. It was a meeting attended by representatives of 4 Tri-Valley cities, 2 districts, and the California Water Service Company. There were a number of consensus items that came out of the 4th Water Policy Roundtable. The 11 officials there unanimously agreed that expansion of recycling, even at some additional cost, was a worthwhile thing to pursue in the Tri-Valley. They agreed by consensus that the Tri-Valley needs to go beyond just basic classic purple pipe recycling. We need to consider more advanced forms of recycling, such as indirect potable reuse, treatment of reverse osmosis water. And they also unanimously agreed that the Tri-Valley should work in some collaborative way to study advanced water purification technologies like indirect potable reuse. And staff from the agencies are already talking about how something like that might be brought back before the Water Policy Roundtable. We're working on trying to schedule a 5th Water Policy Roundtable in early July.
We hosted lots of interesting stuff. Interesting. Certainly, my sense is there's a retailer consensus around, we have all this interesting wastewater, let's try to use it in a way that's beneficial for all of us. It was a little hard to read the zone. Take that for what it is. The other thing, and it kind of crystallized towards the end of the meeting, is at least the folks from Pleasanton, I don't know if this is because they're off the same table, it was the Grumpy table, but there was Grumpy. There was some frustration expressed from Councilmember Brown and the city manager of, fine, we talked a lot, what are we going to do? Which I was chairing the meeting and I bit my tongue into saying anything snarky. That I certainly could have. This is one of the reasons that we're at the point we're at right now is because certain entities were suing each other back in the early 2000s. But I didn't bring that up. Brooke brought it up, under a different context.
He was asked.
Huh?
He was asked.
Yeah.
It was a
It was a
good
leading, it was a leading, somebody gave him a leading question and he gave him a factual response.
Yeah. From the audience.
So and that's another, is we actually had,
We had lots of audience.
we had more audience, lots by our standards, probably 15 people. 5 of them were all there for grinding the axe on the logo. 5 of them were all Pleasanton people from the same neighborhood talking about a subsidence issue with the zone. So they kind of hijacked the meeting for a bit. Back to the kind of consensus that we want to at least talk about doing something or do something. Harry Sachs insisted 2 meetings ago that we keep governance as one of the 6 things that we should be talking about. And it turns out that Harry Sachs is a very smart man, because now we're at the point where we don't have a good vehicle to do anything. I mean, we don't have a way to authorize collecting money, spending money, even for a study right now. I had one harebrained idea, and I kicked it around. The only entity that exists at this 5 minutes that could collect money from the retailers and spend it is Lotto.
That's why it's named Water Agency and not Wastewater Agency.
So, we could repurpose Lotto to at least get the thing jump started. It covers the entire footprint, and at least there's a way to get money into the darn thing from all from everybody who's affected. It's a 5-year project, even if we started it today. So, but we're not going to start anything if we don't start it. And that's my last observation is I think we've got about 1, maybe 2 more meetings of this kind of this talk format before this thing will start to unravel. People will start to decide, I've got a better thing to do with 2 hours of my life. So I want all of us to think creatively on how we can make sure, get something that actually happens. Get a piece of paper signed and get some money spent, get something happening that's real. Or I'm afraid we'll lose this momentum.
What was the discussion about governance other than
No,
No.
in fact, I didn't discuss at the meeting. I was just observing that, I was at the table with Harry when he insisted that, remember when we had like 12 things? We went it down to 6 and governance barely made it onto the bottom? That was Harry. He was saying, no matter what you do, you have to figure out a way to actually organize yourselves to do something.
So nobody talked
No.
more about
I
that.
suspect that'll be the next, normally we talk in detail about the superficial subject from before, so we'll talk in detail about
Collaboration?
No, structural conservation, and I'm hoping that we get governance as the intro topic next time. Because we have to figure out how to actually get something done, or people are going to get interested.
Because there was a lot of discussion about that.
So that's still 2 down in the queue. I mean, that's the lowest item on the priority list. However, even though there's not, a formal structure to do this, there's nothing to say that, some kind of memorandum of understanding or principles of agreement can be signed
It could
and
be like
people can have partnership. Actually, what we could use, the vehicle we could use, is the existing reciprocal services agreement where we can all agree to chip in. So the work that my counterparts and I and other agencies are already undertaking is to develop a kind of a project concept, a study concept, what the timetable of that might look like, what the scale of the cost might be, and how the cost might be shared. Now, there's still, people would need to sign on the dotted line to that. It's all
It would be-
voluntary, but we'll bring that forward at the next
I was
meeting.
going to say, it would be spectacular if that was baked the next meeting, because I
Yes.
think people want to, at least the first hurdle, or it'll shake out the people who aren't real. I mean, if they're not willing to pony up X, whatever X is on, to even get out of the starting gate, who aren't at the table in a real way.
Because I was at the table, I'm sorry, I was at the table with Mayor Marchand and Jim Grail. And they were all in favor of it. They were in favor of the collaboration, they were in favor of, it's the first time I've seen them all really be engaged in potable and indirect potable.
Unfortunately, that only accounts for 2 Zone 7 members. I don't know what you'd do when it came to all 7 of them, whether or not you get.
I think Sandy Vicker said something
There were
too.
3,
Yeah. Sandy was there and Dick Quigley.
And there's
They're all
engaged
coming around.
the risk of sounding cynical, I guess sometimes. There's being engaged in a conversation versus being engaged, putting your name on a dotted line and writing a check.
Yes.
And the faster we can get people's names on dotted lines with some checks, even if they're not big checks, I think will be an important milestone to see just how real this thing can be.
So the hope is, what I'm endeavoring to do is to have the question asked at the next water policy roundtable, kind of put up or shut up, on going forward with this.
That would be spectacular. And to the point of,
They're ready to go.
it's going to be,
It's ready to test.
your allocation of cost for this first lead study is going to be, make it real, so we can get people to start signing them up.
And then we can have substance at future meetings too, which will be more exciting.
Is that specifically been discussed with your counterparts on
I have a couple of good friends who, I'm working on this. So I believe that there's going to be momentum and that we'll see something like this on the next agenda.
Could you imagine, Georgina especially, because you have more history with this than I do. Could you imagine a time when somebody from Pleasanton or Livermore would draw a line from our wastewater treatment plant up to Lake Del Valle with an arrow on it and go, this is actually probably a pretty good idea, let's figure out how to do this.
No, this is all very eerie.
Yeah.
But I think the time is right. It's right. They're all starting
as
to move towards
usual,
it.
in the United States, we have to have a crisis before we do anything. And this is just another example of that. We're in the middle of a crisis, and we need to do everything, something.
Well, we don't want to let the crisis go to waste.
I know.
And
Anyway,
Dan's been,
that's-
has done a very good job in orchestrating it.
That's my report out, and I'm very, very, what you said, I'm very happy, because I think we gotta get, I mean, we're not gonna put a shovel on the ground, we gotta get to some action pretty quick, or people are gonna start to.
And don't let them move meetings again. I am so angry that I couldn't make the meeting. Of course, I was down in Southern California, living in rain.
Well, I thought it was fun. I thought it was a great engagement. It was.
But they changed the meeting without asking.
I know, well, that big a group.
Yeah, you have
It's
to.
hard.
And that's why we all trust each other. I trust any of you to be my alternate on something, and,
Oh,
we have a good-
I don't mean that at all. I just mean I like to hear it. And I wanted to be there.
All right.
Staff did do a fabulous job, so that was good.
Any other feedback? Good.
Good job.
Okay?
Good luck.
Yes. Any further discussion on any items, 9A through 9N?
Have you ever gotten past Z, like double A?
Yeah, I think our record, we were talking about, I think our record, Nancy, is double K.
Double Ks?
What's that?
That'd be Dory Valley.
That's fine.
Oh, I forgot.
That's a lot.
All right. Item 10, board member items. Any other reports? Rick?
Regina Plain this time.
Yeah, other than being down in Southern California in the rain, which was, absolutely surreal because it poured. I went to the Chamber of Commerce Economic Development Committee meeting on Thursday, May 7th, and they had a presentation at this meeting from BART, and they have a new slogan, Better BART, Better Bay Area, which I know that's one of those things we can all agree on, like motherhood and apple pie, but as usual, the problems come in the details, and they're trying to, right now, they're in an effort to upgrade the system, as you notice they have the broken track problem. They're trying to replace the cars. When you think about the first cars went on the track in 1965, they've been chugging along for quite a few years. They are trying as much as possible to continue, I shouldn't couch it that way, because they're very positive about the fact that they'll put enough money together soon to actually go to Livermore. Beyond that, again, who knows, but they're rebuilding, they're restructuring, they're reinvesting money. They hadn't done that in a while. As we know, not a lot of agencies have done much when it comes to trying to preserve the infrastructure, and now we have a situation where, just as an example, driving to LA down 5, I swear to God, if we didn't need a new set of shocks and tires, it's a mess. And, that's just the freeway system. Well, BART's in the same category, and now we're seeing problems because they haven't kept it up. But that's their first goal. It was pretty interesting, but they're trying to sell BART. They want people to write on it. But I didn't write down a lot of the numbers. When you think about the numbers of people they were serving and the additional commuters that have come in since then, it's kind of amazing they've been able to do what they've been able to do. Whether or not you agree with rapid transit, it's probably hard to disagree with rapid transit, but it's difficult for us to get to. And of course, the argument out here was there's not enough parking. There's never enough parking. And unfortunately, the philosophy is the same. That hasn't changed. Their stations are never going to be built with enough parking unless we can change the entire philosophy somehow. And I don't know why we can't. I mean, McPartland was there, our director was there to answer questions and to give the political update on all of this. And, when somebody directly asked him, he said, that's our traffic department, and they handle what they believe to be the problem. Well, they need to get in their car and come out here and see all the parking lots that now have, no BART parking signs all over them, and the businesses that are having a problem with that. But, he kind of fluffed it off, so I don't know how we get around that. But in any event, at least the cars and the infrastructure are being replaced and rebuilt and upgraded for better reliability and better safety. That's all.
I'm going to be going to attend John Coleman's breakfast tomorrow morning, so I will report on that when I get at next meeting. I also heard a comment today from a fellow peer at my agency that said our general manager did a nice presentation to the East Bay Leadership's Water Task Force.
Yeah, the group on looking at chairs.
So that was well received and another feather in our cap for all the work we do.
Just talking about our AMI system, Aquahawk, and how that technology is using and helping us as well as our customers, kind of manage their way through the drought. I had a very brief time to chat. I was a sort of a warm-up act for George Choblanovich from Davis, who was talking about direct potable reuse. Because I was looking at those direct potable reuse. You talked, thank you for the comment from your colleague, but really, Dr. T's message on direct potable reuse was really, I think, an important issue for California.
And I actually have one more item. I was informed today that I have been nominated by the CASA nominating committee for the slate of officers for the next year, and I will be on the slate.
Excellent. And I have one question here. Is the good board work? Do we need to do anything with this, or just say if we want it, the subscription?
We've had the subscription for a year now. It's actually very cost effective. It's $10 per board member per month, I believe. So very, very inexpensive training. On the other hand, you guys know I'm cheap, so if you don't find it valuable, we'll cancel one or two of the subscriptions and save a little bit of money. On the other hand, if you want to, I think it's really good value. I actually enjoy using it. It's easy to do. So just let us know.
This time, the board will be going into closed session for 2 closed sessions, as listed on the agenda. 11B, public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, District Secretary. And item C, conference of labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 497.6 for additional attendees, general counsel calls.
And President Duarte, thinking about these 2 items, I'm actually going to propose you do item 11C first, and then we'll do item 11B last. Very good.
Attendees for 11C are per the agenda.
Yep. Couldn't be mine, I don't eat candy. That's the chocolate. I love it.
Yeah.
No, just. No, I'm sure she is. I'm sure. I know how that goes. Yeah.